This is really off-brand for me, but I have some genuinely good news to share. I guess maybe the part that's on brand is that I'm saying this despite a bunch of people who have been wrong on climate for a long time. Like this guy.
Unreliable. And so you need backup. People have this absurd idea, oh, we can just go to batteries, but batteries are not anytime soon going to be able to pick up most of the slack.
Or this guy.
The Prime Minister this morning asked about this at a business conference in Sydney. He has made it crystal clear that there does need to be new gas brought into the system.
And being straight, gas will play a role in renewables. We will need, in coming years, we will need additional supply.
You do not need to burn more fossil fuels to get rid of other fossil fuels. Yes, if you say something that's absurd a large number of times, you'll probably end up with a fair few people believing it, but unfortunately it doesn't change reality. What we're finding more and more is that lithium-ion battery systems installed at the scale of power grids are supplying way more energy than we expected, and also they're pushing gas out of the system far faster than we expected. We have already seen this happening in states like California, where emissions are actually falling pretty fast, compared to states like Texas, where emissions are growing. As I dig into for a couple of new pieces over at The Point, Australia is joining the large-scale battery party. Time for 8,000 charts. First up, the amount of energy that is consumed by batteries when they're charged and the amount they emit when they're discharged has been rising at a surprising tick. This really ramped up in the last quarter of last year. This is a fun one. This shows every hour of the day from midnight to midnight, and it shows the change in the amount of energy for different fuel types from the last quarter of 2024 to the last quarter of 2025. As you can see, there was a huge drop in gas power generation, specifically in the evening peak between these two quarters. There is also a very significant increase in the amount of charging from batteries in the middle of the day when solar's generating, and an increase in the amount of discharge from batteries in the evening peak. Batteries are picking up daytime solar and dropping it on evening gas like an anvil being dropped on a cartoon character. Just to ram this point home, for the moment of the evening peak on Australia's eastern grid at 7 p.m, on average, batteries discharged more energy than gas power generated. Looking at the longer term trend here, it really won't be long before the total amount of energy discharged by batteries for the whole month, not just the peak, is greater than the amount of generation that comes from gas-fired power on this grid. Batteries were always assumed to be kind of a sideshow, something that you would use to adjust power at millisecond levels to help maintain grid stability. This was even something that I said back in 2017, but it is absolutely not the case. Lithium-ion batteries are shifting massive amounts of energy from the already significant amounts of solar power on Australia's grid from the middle of the day to the evening, specifically transporting it so it can cut deep into gas power. This is something else that came out in a report recently as well, and I reckon it's one of the most under-recognized advantages of grid-scale battery systems. The price of power gets decided by whatever generator sets the price, basically the one that's at the top of the bid stack for that moment in time. And often in the evening peak, that tends to be gas-fired power. Gas has always been expensive, but it has become significantly more expensive in the past few years. And you can see here how gas prices track electricity prices really closely because fossil fuels are expensive, and we really shouldn't be using them because they are the things that are making your energy bill so cripplingly unaffordable. What happens when you have battery systems generating more and more in that evening peak is that the people who own them, they are the ones that set the price, and they don't need to charge massive amounts. And look, I'm sorry to make you eat your vegetables here at the end of this video, but gas is not the predominant source of greenhouse gas emissions on Australia's grid. It remains coal. Coal has been generating much more than expected in previous projections. There are two reasons for that. Not enough renewable energy has been built, and also demand is growing far faster than expected, thanks in part to our friends over in the big tech industry. Ideally, what happens here is we take all of the enthusiasm and subsidies and support for data centers, and we transfer that over into renewable energy, where there really needs to be much, much more government support to get them built quicker. more batteries are not going to cut it here. They're not going to be the thing that really starts to push coal out of the grid as fast as it should be. But the lesson that we learn from batteries, like so many lessons that we've learnt in the past, is that all of this turns out to be way easier and way more achievable than we were told, that we were basically bullied for the past decade, that no, you can't do this, you have to use gas, there's no other option. That's not true, and it is also untrue that we have to have coal sitting on the power grid for way, way longer than it should be. All of these problems are way more solvable than anybody in the energy industry, in media, and in politics really wants to admit. If they admit that, then they would actually have to kind of take on the responsibility of doing it, and they really, really want to avoid that. That's not something they want to do. Please go have a look at my 2 new pieces for The Point. They're really packed with analysis of this very major and significant achievement, and I hope you enjoy reading them. Thank you.